Hello, I'm Jamie Lee Gerzon, and in this video I'm going to talk about creating a mind map. So a mind map is a pre-writing strategy that you can use when you're first getting started working on an essay. It's also known as an idea web. It's sort of a visual representation of your ideas. So some writers like to create a mind map or an idea web as an alternative to creating an outline. An outline would be like a bulleted list of your ideas or some brief notes about what you might put in each body paragraph. If that is not the way that you want to start working on your essay, or if you want to try a different pre-writing strategy, you could try creating a mind map. So I have found a website. It's called mindmapfree.com, and it's actually a pretty useful website, pretty basic, to help you create a digital version of a mind map. And I've created a sample one so you can kind of see what it looks like. And I'm gonna, in this video, walk you through using that website and creating a mind map that looks similar to this. So you do have the option of creating a digital mind map, or if you can always do this by hand if you wanted to just get a blank piece of paper and start drawing out, sort of connecting the dots of your ideas. This is especially useful when you're getting started working on an essay. And the essay that I'm going to use as an example for this video is the rhetorical analysis. So for the rhetorical analysis, you may be analyzing an advertisement. So for this example, I've selected an advertisement. It was put out by IHOP, the International House of Pancakes, in the summer of 2018. And at that time, they had come up with this ad campaign to change their name. So they were changing their name from IHOP with a P to IHOB with a B. So they changed their name to the International House of Burgers. And they put out this ad that was pretty ridiculous, which showed two men standing on top of an IHOP restaurant and sort of pitching this new product or this new name change. So you can look it up on YouTube. It's called Burgers, Burgers, Burgers. And this is the ad that I've selected as sort of the sample ad that I might be analyzing, or that could be used as the subject of a rhetorical analysis. So let me show you the website. And one good thing about this website is that you don't have to download an app, and it doesn't ask you for any information to log in or anything like that. So there are some perks to it in terms of digital privacy and digital security. You can kind of just get in here, create your mind map, save it, or get a copy of it, and then leave without leaving that much of a digital footprint. So when you first log into the website, or when you first go to mindmapfree.com, it will give you some instructional dialog boxes. You'll see here at the top it says, "Welcome to this free educational resource," and it gives you the option to skip the tutorial. But the tutorial may be helpful the first time that you're using it, so you may want to leave those dialog boxes open. You can also click this help button and more dialog boxes will pop up, more help boxes. And then if you click it again, they go away. So especially the first time you're using it, that can be helpful. But basically you just start by clicking or double clicking where you're in the middle, where your central idea is going to be. So you can put whatever you want here. I'm going to put the title of my ad, which is going to be the focus of my rhetorical analysis essay. So this was an ad that was put out by IHOP, and it was when they had temporarily changed their name to IHOB for marketing purposes. And the title of the ad is Burgers, Burgers, Burgers. And then when these boxes get in the way, you can just X out of them. So then from here, you, as the dialog box is telling us, you click the red circle and drag out to draw a branch. You can think of this almost as like a tree. You're kind of branching your ideas out. So a good way to start, before you even get started on this mind map, is to read the essay assignment. In this case, we're doing a rhetorical analysis. So you want to look at what the essay is asking you for, and that's a good place to start by sort of drawing out your ideas in terms of what the essay assignment is looking for. In this case, for the rhetorical analysis, students are asked to pick an ad and then talk about specific images as well as sounds, as well as music, and language. So any specific details from that ad that you can talk about will end up being part of the essay. So I'm going to start with three main categories. The first one is going to be images. So after I watched the ad, I made a note of some images that I might want to talk about in my analysis of the ad. And then another branch is going to be words or language. So when you're doing analysis, a lot of it is just talking about these specific details that the creators of, in this case the ad, chose to include. So as I'm analyzing the ad, I'm going to be looking really closely at the images in the ad, the words and language, as well as the sounds and music. So for a visual video ad, there are going to be sounds and music. For a print ad, there might not necessarily be sounds and music, but there will definitely be images and probably words and language. So I'm just going to start by taking some notes on, after watching the ad several times and I've already kind of gotten a list going of what I might want to talk about, I'm going to add those items from my list onto the mind map. So one of the images that I noticed, so we have these two guys standing on a roof. In the background, we have a man who's wearing a cook's uniform, and he's standing in front of a grill, and the grill itself is actually made to look like a little mini IHOP restaurant. So they're standing on top of an IHOP restaurant. The guy in the back is in front of this grill that's like a little mini IHOP restaurant. So that's an interesting image that drew my attention and something I might want to talk about if I were going to analyze this advertisement. So in the background, so we've got a man in a cook's uniform standing on top of an IHOP restaurant in front of a grill that is made to look like a mini IHOP restaurant. Another image that stood out to me, and if you need to move around this picture, you can, so you have more space. So if you just click the mouse and drag, it will go in different directions, and you see this navigator box allows you to make it bigger and smaller, so you can adjust that as you're working. As you're adding more and more ideas, you may end up getting a pretty big complicated web here. And it doesn't have to be super complicated either. Even if this helps you just on a really basic level kind of organize what you're thinking about this topic before you start writing, it may be useful, but you can get as complex as you want. So another image that stood out to me is there's a man in the foreground and he's wearing like a tie. It almost looks like he's dressed as like the manager of an IHOP restaurant. He has a name tag. So he's some employee of an IHOP restaurant, maybe the manager, and he's standing in the front talking kind of about how they're switching from pancakes to burgers and giving sort of the sales pitch. And then at one point in the ad, he falls off the roof. So that kind of drew my attention. We have a man falling off the roof. So those are two of the images that stood out to me. To build on this, I'm going to start thinking about what might I say in my rhetorical analysis about these images. And part of analyzing the rhetorical situation is talking about elements such as the tone, the purpose, what the creators of the ad are trying to accomplish, as well as the message, what was their main point, or what are some of the ideas that they're dealing with in the ad, and then the intended audience. So those are kind of the four elements of the rhetorical situation: tone, purpose, message, and audience that I'm going to be thinking about. When I look at this top image of the man in front of the mini IHOP grill, to me it seems like the purpose might be to shock. It is kind of a shocking image. It's something I've never seen before, a mini IHOP grill or a man standing on a roof grilling burgers. So there is definitely a shock value there. So I'm going to identify that as maybe the purpose of this image. So I'm going to draw another sort of branch here, but I'm going to make this one a different color just to remind myself that this is actually an element of the rhetorical situation that I'm identifying. And for my own purposes, as another reminder, I'm going to put it in italics. So I have my purpose. The purpose of this particular part of the ad might be to shock, or by talking about this shocking image, that might help me analyze the ad when I'm ready to write the essay. If we look at this man falling off the roof, similar purpose. I think the purpose is also to shock, or that is the effect on the audience. And I'm going to keep all my branches where I'm identifying the rhetorical situation, I'm going to keep those a different color just to remind myself that that's the rhetorical situation. Okay, so now I'm going to move into the sounds and the music that are part of this ad. So at the beginning of the ad, we have the man who's in the manager's uniform, and he's sort of giving a sales pitch. He's kind of talking fast, he's talking loud, he's yelling from the top of this roof about how the name of IHOP is changing to International House of Burgers, and it sort of reminds me of a sales pitch. So that's what I'm gonna make note of. And then another sound that you hear is firecrackers. At one point, firecrackers are blown off in the ad. And then after that, you have laughter. So I'm, again, picking out these really small details, but I'm going to be using these details to sort of develop my analysis in the essay. So thinking about these sounds that I'm hearing in the ad, the purpose might be to excite. So we have a man giving sort of a sales pitch, talking fast, talking excitedly. Maybe that's getting me excited as a viewer. Firecrackers and laughter, again, that might be trying to generate some sort of excitement in the audience. So I'm going to identify the purpose of both of these sounds to be excitement, to excite the audience. And I'm just going to draw a connecting line there, so that'll remind me later that the purpose was to excite. Oh, no. Okay, and if you mess something up, if you look at the top here, there's delete and undo, so I'm going to delete that one. Okay, I'll draw a new one here, because I'm not really, you may be able to figure this out, but I haven't really been able to figure out how to connect to except branch off from one, so I'm just going to keep branching. My purpose will be to excite. So you get the idea here, and experiment with this. I mean, this digital tool hopefully will make it more helpful and maybe a little fun. You can play around with the different colors and fonts. And again, if you're more of a visual person, or if it's really difficult for you to just sit down and write an outline, or even sit down and write a rough draft, this may be a helpful way to get started, just kind of connecting the ideas that you have before actually having to put it in more of a formal document. Okay, so I'm doing a pretty good job identifying the purpose of the ad. I still want to think about the tone of the ad as well as the intended audience. And then finally, the message. The message is something that I'm probably going to wait a little bit to write down even. For me, it's easier to establish kind of the tone, the audience, the purpose, and then kind of take a step back and evaluate everything and think about, okay, what is the message? What is the overall point they're trying to make, or what are sort of the underlying ideas behind these images and sounds and language that I'm seeing? So some particular words and language. We have the man in the manager's uniform telling us that so we have IHOP has gone from pancake and pancakes to burgers and burgers. Kind of a silly phrase. I'm going to identify the tone of that phrase. So I'm going to branch out here and make another dark blue branch, because this is going to be another part of the rhetorical situation. This time I'm going to think about the tone. So to me, the tone of that phrase would be playful, maybe conversational. It might sound like something that somebody would tell you just in an everyday conversation. We have sort of the repetitive element of it. IHOP has gone from pancakes and pancakes to burgers and burgers, so that's another part of it. More language. We have kind of another silly phrase here. I guess silly would be another word I could add to this. Another phrase that is included in the ad. And now this is a 30-second advertisement, so you can see how much I've actually drawn out of it just by looking really closely at the language, what is said, and thinking about whoever created this ad, IHOP or whoever they're working with to market the product. They made specific decisions about what to include in it. So as a writer, when I'm analyzing the ad, I want to think really carefully and kind of draw out all those details that I'm seeing in it. So another phrase that is said, okay, so he says, burgers so burgering good, we're even changing our name to the International House of Burgers. They mentioned the word burgers a lot there, so that I'm going to just make a note of that maybe as part of the tone as well. And then they kind of make up a word there, burgers so burgering good. Have you heard that word been used frequently in a sentence? Probably not. So kind of silly. Okay, so tone, I think it's going to be silly. Almost like self-ridiculing. And then repetitive. And I may come back, or at some point when I'm writing the essay, and talk about this repetition that is used throughout the ad as well, even of that word burger. Why do they keep using that word burger over and over again, and what's the effect that it's having on the audience? And then that brings me, oh, okay. Oh, I had some other stuff to say about this burger, so burger and good. I've talked about the tone. I can also bring in different elements of the rhetorical situation. So I could talk about the purpose. What is the purpose of this phrase in the ad? I'm thinking maybe to generate conversation, especially thinking about the role that this ad played in social media, or the role that social media played in this marketing campaign. Not only did IHOP in summer of 2018 put out this YouTube video, there was also a hashtag that went along with it, and they were marketing this on their social media pages as well. So taking that all into consideration, and then even down to this phrase, burger so burger and good, they're maybe just trying to get people to talk about it. That might be part of their purpose, to generate conversation, and also to rebrand the product, or to maybe get viewers to think about the product in a different way. And then finally, I'm going to also draw a connection to the audience. So this is another part of the rhetorical situation. Who is the intended audience, or what audience did the makers of the ad have in mind? And I'm going to say social media users. Just because of the fact that this phrase has a possibility to live on in social media, or to start a conversation in social media. That's one kind of angle I can take in my analysis, is that they are catering specifically to an audience of social media users. And then one final piece of language that I might want to draw attention to. They say combos starting at $6.99 with unlimited fries. So just the basic of how much this product is going to cost. That's making me think the audience might be low to middle income Americans, so Americans that eat out at a place like this, or can afford this price point, or might be engaged by knowing that something costs this much. So that's going to be another dark blue. and that's going to be my audience. Low to middle income Americans. So again, this mind map is just a place to get started. Now, everything you say in here may or may not end up in the essay itself, but this is just a place to start thinking about these different ideas and tying these different pieces together. So I've got a pretty good start on some content that might go in my essay. At this point, I might be ready to just start writing the rough draft of my essay, or I might want to do an outline at this point. So you can do the mind map as an alternative to an outline. You can also do it in addition to an outline, whatever works for you in your writing process. One thing that I haven't talked too much about that I mentioned earlier is the message or the argument of the ad. And that can be one of the trickiest things to figure out. So I'm, for now, just going to draw a branch to kind of remind myself that at some point I'm going to have to figure out what the message is or talk clearly about that in my essay. I'm going to make this branch a totally different color so it really stands out. And this is where I'm going to almost put like as a placeholder that I'm going to have to talk about the message. So when you're thinking about the message in advertising, on the surface level, most of the time or a lot of the time, the message is buy our product. So we can say that IHOP is telling us buy our new burgers or come to our restaurant, eat our food. But also you can think about the message in terms of kind of the underlying ideas behind the ad or the ideas that they're using to sell the ad. So when I look at everything that, all the notes that I've taken or everything that I put in this mind map as a whole, a couple different things stand out to me. One is shock value. There's definitely a lot of shock value associated with this ad. And another is kind of novelty, like something new. There's something new about it. There's something new about these burgers instead of pancakes. There's something new about the name International House of Burgers versus International House of Pancakes, which we're familiar with. There's something new about having a mini grill that looks like an IHOP on top of an IHOP. So that's the direction I might go with my message. I'm just going to take a brief note, message about novelty and shock value. These are like kind of like themes that I see in the ad. And I'm not sure quite yet what I want to say about that, but I'll just leave that as a starting point or as a placeholder to know that I'm going to have to come back to that in my message. Okay, so this gives you an idea of how to use this website, mindmapfree.com. When you're done, you want to save a copy of this before you X out of the tab. There's a couple different ways to do it. They do, if you click Mind Map, they do give you the option to save or export as image. I haven't had the most luck with this, but you can try. It may be depending on the browser that you're using. But if you select Export as Image, you should be able to right-click and then do Save Image As, and then browse and save it. I was not successful with this earlier, so before you X out of this window, make sure it actually saved to wherever you want it to go and that you're actually able to open it. If you're not able to open it, which was the case with me, you can also from here click OK, and it'll, okay, if you click, oh, no, sorry, this is the tricky part. At one point I was able to get it, this gives you, oops, this is if you've already saved it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do from here, this is my workaround that I figured out earlier, is you can actually just take a screenshot of it. Okay, this is what I did. So I went to Mind Map, Export as Image, right click, and then I selected View Image, and then I leave page. From there it gives me a larger shot, and if you're not able to save the image and retrieve it, another way is to just take a screenshot. So from here I just took a screenshot, and then you can open a Word document and copy that in there. Or you can also print it from here. But Just make sure you extract some version of the mind map before you click X out of the internet box. That's probably the trickiest part of it, is saving the image. But again, this can be a really helpful digital tool for pre-writing for an essay. I hope that helps. Thank you for your attention. Bye.